The first of our films today from 1995 is Kids, released May 17th, 1995, directed by Larry Clark. It starred Leo Fitzpatrick as Telly, Justin Pierce as Caspar, Chloë Sevigny as Jenny, and Rosario Dawson as Ruby. A day in the life of a group of teens as they travel around New York City skating, drinking, smoking, and deflowering virgins. Kyle, were you entertained?
No.
Elliot, were you entertained?
Yes.
Amari, were you entertained?
Certain man said no, so they're gonna have to start. I say yes.
I wasn't entertained.
You lot are sick.
Goddamn! There was two them.
I
You
wasn't
lot are
entertained.
sick.
Two them.
I wasn't
This is why I
entertained.
was entertained.
Wasn't entertained.
What have you
Now.
got me watching?
I'm
Now.
confused. I'm very
Now.
confused right now.
Right,
What have
now,
you
I'm
got me
you know
watching?
what?
I'll let Giles start.
Oh, I am going to start.
I was
I'm
outraged
gonna-
by this film.
Damn.
Hold on. I'm going to tell you why. I'm going to tell you why. Now,
All right.
originally I watched this film in 1995. So in 1995, I would have been still a child. So when I first watched this film, I was entertained because I watched it through childlike eyes. Not that I was a skateboarder, not that I was drinking, and not that I was smoking. Maybe I was deflowering virgins at that age. But all the other stuff, I definitely wasn't doing. But I could relate to it. At the time, I don't think I'd been to New York, and it was always a place. I mean, subsequently, I've been X amount of times, but at the time, I'd never been there. So it was always held this place always held this like mysterious kind of allure to me. So I didn't see anything wrong with what they were doing or what they got up to, and I didn't really. And there's Elliot. If whenever I can throw this word in, I didn't fully understand the gravitas of what they were actually doing. Thank you. But now, watching it in 2020, as a parent, no, I'm not entertained.
And it's for that exact reason
Why I was
why I
entertained.
was entertained. Look at how long ago this film was made, yeah? And for me, it was the eye-opening realization of just how things have not changed. Things have just got worse. Things have just got worse. And it was very entertaining for me personally to watch something that was made, we're going back, 25 years ago? And the aesthetic is different, but it's the same message. These kids today are running around doing a nonsense, if not more so. And to me, I just found it very entertaining seeing how life was 25 years ago when I was a child and thinking that's how, because again, it's a fictional story, but again, you know how it is at that time during the AIDS epidemic as well.
Absolutely.
Kanye, keep preaching.
Now that's not now what I'm not saying, because the question is, was I entertained? This isn't a bad film. At no point am I saying it's a bad film.
Yeah.
The fact that the way how it's filmed, it's one of these beautifully shot films. They kind of let, a lot of it is ad-libbed and ad hoc done. It's just free flowing, but it's the subject matters and the way how the subject matters are filmed. It's uncomfortable, but that's me watching it, 25 years after I've watched it, I've got a 24-year-old daughter. Do you understand what I'm saying? So that's the only reason why I can't say. Not that I'm saying I didn't. Well, not that I'm saying I didn't enjoy the film. It's still not. It still is one of my favorite films.
Yeah.
But it's now become it's now become an uncomfortable watch.
Amari.
Uncomfortable is the key word, Giles.
Yeah.
It's a very
It is
important
It
word.
is a very, very important.
You know what I thought? I was like, after watching this film, all those times I used to banter that I'm gonna have a daughter as my first child or my second. I don't want a daughter. That was the first thought. I'm not gonna lie to you. Only because this film was saying, nah, you don't know what's gonna happen, and you're like, bruh, I remember younger me. I wasn't like that.
Hey, you know what? Let me just drop a bomb that we made it this far, all four of us, because on a real one, but again, it's, you know, I can make jokes out of this film, but all the jokes are kind of rebutted with seriousness, because we can say, yeah, we made it. We all kind of, you know, we've all done our thing as young men and we've grown, but this is the realness of this film. It's one of them films for me, and this is why, again, I suggested it, and it is probably in my sort of, I wouldn't say favorite, but most important films maybe that I've seen in my life, because of how raw and visceral it is. It is a very, sometimes you need those kind of films that they pack a punch, and that you watch it and you
absolutely,
through every scene, and you feel it. Do you see what I'm saying?
This film, you think that you think someone that's not between the ages of 15, 14, 13. We knew people remember us in school in year 8. That's like 12, living this same lifestyle to what, as they grow up, and they grow up too fast, etc. No, this film is fully relevant as it was 25 years ago.
Agreed.
And you're saying to me it's uncomfortable. It better be uncomfortable. It's supposed to be. It's supposed to piss you off, and it's supposed to make you feel like, what?
It's supposed to sick you.
Okay.
Kyle's reaction is exactly what I believe. Was the director Leo Fitzpatrick? What was his name, Josh?
No, Larry Clark.
Larry Clark. I believe when he made this film, he wanted every single person that watched it to have the same reaction Kyle's had.
This film was disgusting. This was actually disgusting.
Hang on a sec. Let's hear from Carl. Actually, go on, Carl.
Like, I'm not saying this wasn't real. This was a very true depiction. But me watching little kids, to me, having sex, no, I'm not on that. And that's until they got to the scene with Rosario Dawson, and she said that she was 16 and the other one was 17. I thought these kids were like 14, and I was like, this is a bit uncomfortable for me to watch little kids moving like this. The scene in the pool, I was thinking, this is a little girl. She's got her breast. Like, to me, this was no. This was sick. This was actually. I'll never watch this film again. I'll never watch this film again. I swear to you, I watched it and I was like, why would Eddie recommend this? I was so confused.
But this exact
question. Do you put this film on disgusting level as you do as Midsummer?
This is worse than Midsummer.
Wow.
No. This is actually bad. Like, I can't believe this film was made. It's funny because even afterwards, and I thought, is it just me that's out? I went and Googled it, and I saw at the time it got released, people were talking about it's bordering on child pornography, which is exactly the vibe I was getting. So I was like, what am I doing watching this film? Why has Elliot made me watch this film? There was all kinds of weirdness going on. I was not feeling it. That even the beginning, why did he spit down the stairs?
Because he's a kid. Because he's a kid.
I'm just gonna come out of having sex with a girl. I look down the stairs. Oh yeah, I'm gonna spit down. This is disgusting to me.
Right, but Carl. So I'm like I said, I've watched this film through both eyes. I've watched it through and I can't state that enough. I watched it through childlike eyes.
Yeah,
not understanding it fully, and now watching it through an adult. And obviously, I've lived my life in those 25 years. The reason why he done, and you asked, why would he do that? Because that's what kids do. I work with
just
kids.
Because that's what kids do. Hold on a sec. That doesn't mean you need to show it in a film. No, there's a lot of sick people in this world, that watch all kinds of nonsense online, but I don't want to watch a film about that. But that's what I'm saying.
You're absolutely right. And my rebuttal to that is, you probably couldn't make this film now. You probably couldn't. You couldn't make it. You could not. And also, go on.
No, it's only just to add on to that, and this is the beauty of going back to look at certain things released at certain times, because you look at and it's beautiful the way you started the conversation by talking about things that were going on in the world, and then the Oklahoma bombing, and then all of a sudden we're now talking about a film of this caliber being released at that time. I fully agree with what Carl's saying. With what you're saying, there is no way this film would get released. A film like this would get released and made now. But me personally, I think more films should be made in this kind of manner, showing the absolute rawness and straight up reality of what certain decisions will go on.
Look, it was
this films like this are made not in this kind of concept of child, the child element of it, in terms of you not knowing the ages too late in the film for you to feel less unease. You see that film on Netflix, that Desi 365 nonsense. If you see that film,
I ain't seen it. I ain't seen it.
listen, I'm gonna tell you, the woman gets kidnapped and then she gets done the Stockholm syndrome, and they show it in the whole film.
Yeah, but you don't
No,
need to
but it's the
don't spoil
concept.
the film.
No, but I'm talking about the film in the concept.
Yeah.
In the whole element of this climate we are now, that
Yeah.
film shouldn't be made, because you're saying that women can be taken and used as objects and then be controlled, etc. Considering we had Me Too movement in 2017, 2018, considering we are now in terms of women's rights, that kind of film shouldn't be made. So trust me, this film should be made in a different version that is relevant in terms of the digital age. But these films should be made, and they could be made.
I agree. I agree with that, and I don't think you know.
But wait, can I ask why do you guys think this film should be made? For who? Who is this for?
Made for the kids.
For
And
kids.
for the parents.
Kids. What, so do you think kids don't know the possibility of catching STIs, STDs?
No, they don't. A lot of them don't. A lot of them don't.
That's crazy. When I was growing up, we all made mistakes, innit? But we all knew we all knew what was going on, what could happen if you have unprotected sex.
Kyle, let me just drop one bar, yeah. And I know I can't speak because I don't have a child who is yet at that age. And I think I looked at Giles in this kind of part of the conversation, but I'm gonna make a statement, yeah. Now we all within 10 years of each other, yeah. So me, you, and Amari grew up at the same era. Giles grew up just before us. Look at the way that kids are now. Look at the way the world in general is now. Look at all the things that they have at arm's length. Mobile phones. It's a key. It's a window to the world. Yeah. The IQ and the logic and the sort of basic how to carry yourself has been dumbed down so much that you look at the state of the kids today, you look at the generation that are growing up, and I know you've probably said it and thought yourself, they're finished. They are finished. So lessons about
not about
reactions.
sex.
Oh, believe me, it's about everything. Believe me, it's about everything.
Carl, listen. Like I said, I'm a little bit further down the parental road, okay? And I'm going to tell you this now. Do not ever be surprised that what your child gets up to when your eyes cannot see what they're doing.
No, ever. Of course, I would never say that.
So that includes sex, that includes drugs, and it fucking includes rock and roll.
All right, but
trust me,
that's what I'm saying. What did you guys take as? What were your takeaways? What were your messages from this film? That you could catch HIV through unprotected sex. Drugs is very bad. That can really mess you up. And if you beat up someone, you could end up killing. We don't know whether the guy died. But those are the three things I took from this film. Now, if you guys are telling me at age 12, 13, or whenever you guys started having sex that you didn't know about diseases, yeah, then I don't know what to say. But that was promoted. I went to a boys' school and that was promoted in a boys' school. I knew about all these things. There's nothing here that at 12, 13, I didn't know. So why do I need a film to show me that?
But that's you. And I completely understand that and I get that. But I think maybe some of that, for example, these kind of films with these kind of messages, they're better for the masses. They're better for the masses. It's better to teach than to not to presume something's been taught. It's better to show the obvious than to leave it to the imagination. Because I guarantee you, if you went out now and had a survey of 100 kids between the age of 8 and 16, I guarantee you the most basic questions about sex and STIs and the rest of it, half of them won't have a clue, bruv. I guarantee you.
Carl, Carl, listen, I've been present every year in year 6. They get the health visitors to come in and they separate the boys and the girls and they do the sex talk, sex ed talk.
Yeah, but wait, you just said year 6. You said year 6.
Yeah, and they're 11. They're 11. But
how old were the kids in this film?
They were 14, 12. Well,
right.
we don't know.
There was a range. There was a range
of kids because
that's the key point.
But my point is, you'd be surprised how much 11-year-olds already have misconceptions. Yeah, misconceptions about sex, about puberty, about STDs, STIs. Do you understand what I'm saying? So, and they don't understand. And again, that's why I said when I watched it the first time, I didn't really see anything wrong with the film. I knew that that happened. The opening scene is him having sex. The closing scene is someone else having sex. At no point in my head did I think, hang on, the closing scene's a rape.
Yeah.
Do you understand what I'm saying? It was just, I just saw it as a child watching, and I'm watching it as a 16-year-old child. So I'm almost coming out of my childhood. Do you understand what I'm saying? So when I remember watching that, thinking like, raw. Now I'm like, right, that was a rape. Like, huh? And that was a long, like, I didn't need to see the actual rape. It was uncomfortably long, but it's uncomfortable for me because one, I'm a man now, and two, I have 3 daughters. Do you understand what I'm saying? And especially my youngest one, who is 11, who's still got to go through this minefield of growing up. Do you understand what I'm saying? So that's why I'm not into tech, but it doesn't make it a bad or a film that shouldn't be made. I think it still should be made.
Crazy.
And I would say, I'd even go one step further and say, you could have the discussion and say there have been films like Kids, for example, Kidulthood, for example, Blue Story, for example, all those Plan B's one as well, which I was talking about the other day. For example, all these little UK, US films on a smaller scale, that even the one we discussed in our last episode, A Day and a Night, all these kind of films are basically showing you the same message of every action has a reaction. The only difference is the degree of severity and how visceral each one is.
Exactly. And again, if you look at the actual director, Larry Clark, now, Carl, you're not going to like this. You're not going to like this.
Let me load up something.
Okay, you're not going to like this because he made Kids in 1995. In 2002, he made another film called Ken Park, and it is more sexual and more violently graphic film than Kids. Now, I haven't seen that.
What's the ages for that one? Is it adults or is it kids? Is it questionable? Are people disturbed and concerned by it? Did it get the same whistle?
Well, look, it wasn't released. It wasn't released in the United States, so I don't know too much about the. Yeah,
well, there you go.
That's everything and anything. So
I beg someone put down the schedule, please. That's what I'm saying. I beg someone put down.
I'm not watching. My thing is this: when it comes to paedophilia, child porn, I'm not in it. I'm not involved. And this is what this film was screaming out to me. Because if they didn't mention the ages, I was thinking I'm watching 13, 14-year-olds having sex. And that's why I'm uncomfortable about the ages, what they look like. And me as a man watching this, that's what I was really uncomfortable with. I can't.
But I get that argument as well because I
get that.
And the scene in the pool I was like, I can't watch this because she looks like a little girl to me.
Yeah,
and I'm looking.
She was a little girl.
Bro, hold on.
That's crazy.
Forget the pool. The opening scene. That sets off the tone for the rest of the film. That was the first thing I wrote. Very intense start, but I like sometimes to have the rug pulled up from under my feet. I like to have that sort of hard dose punch in the face. This is what it is. You're going to be shocked. You're going to come away from this feeling strongly about certain things. Do you see what I'm saying? So to tap it, go back towards the actual film and have a conversation about the film. In general, I think my thing, which I loved about this, was that kind of just raw feel, that kind of home video, following as if you're like the third person in every situation, just following these kids around. And I think I had this conversation, I can't remember who it was with. I think it was even a review with Giles, and I said it's funny how we're picking 2 films from 1995 that kind of the subject is people with shit to do, nothing to do. And it took me back up because this is what I'm saying. And I watched this with Amber, and we were sitting there thinking back to our childhood and how it was some days where you would have fuck all to do, and your day would consist of so many random things that you never planned out or thought you would be doing.
Exactly. And if you look at, going back to, and again, this is kind of a theme that runs through both films, you could start the day doing one thing and end it completely askew to what you started the day. But that's the life of a child.
And sorry,
again,
Joss, go on.
and again, one of the obviously the film's called Kids, so it's quite poignant that there is a lack of adults in the film, and not only is there a lack of adults, there's a lack of authoritative adults.
Agreed.
Yeah,
Agreed.
like even when you even when you meet Casper's mum. She's and again this leads into the changing mindset of the world. She is breastfeeding while smoking. Like, what the hell? So again,
two words in bold for this film for me: disregard and disrespect.
Exactly. Now, so again, if you look at, so again, all we see is like a day in the life of these children, okay? Because they are children, irrespective of what ages they are. They're all children. But when you the minimal times that there's an adult in there, you kind of think, well, hang on, this adult isn't acting like an adult. So what chance do the children have?
This is what I'm saying. And if you want to flip because again, it's easy to take the sort of shock value from this film, Carl. But why I picked this was because I knew we would be having a conversation similar to this. But there's also a very good conversation to be had on the flip side of how to raise kids, how important it is to teach certain values, to do your best, to really put time and effort into youth. Because again, if we look at, we're not going to take this conversation down the road, but if you look at all the crimes and stuff that happen and all the kids dying in London alone under the age of 18, under the age of 16, under the age of 14, and you go and look at the cases and you look at actually what the reason behind the deaths were, it's all nonsense. It's all, and I would even go as far as saying, it's all down to fucking idiots with nothing better to do, which is exactly why I picked this film, because I thought that was the sort of pivotal message of when you give kids time and you don't rein them in, you don't give them boundaries, they have no authoritative figures like Giles say, they're gonna just be kids and they're gonna act up. And this is the sort of like the extreme end of what could happen. Obviously at that time it was that, but if you made this film in 2020, it would be the same subject matters. And that's why I liked it.
It's not the extreme though, because I feel like when you're 12, 13, you want to do things. You're interested. Maybe you're not ready for it, but you just want to hang out with your boys. Hit 14, 15. CBC, we see women develop and are interested. Do we want to get it in or not? What are we doing? And then you hit to 15, 16, 17. Right, but that's all we want to do. You see, and then you're saying this is the normal environment. This is how an individual develops. So as a conversation in terms of this is, and you're telling me if I go outside and if I say, yo, how old are you? Oh, you're 13, 14. Cool. I beg you tell me what you and your friends are going to do today. You're going to do nothing. You're just going to hang out and chill. You're going to hang out chill with girls? All right, cool. What are you not going to try to do? Oh, I'm going to try and get a little something. See where it goes. Basic conversation. Basic what you do for your environment. Unless you have a different environment to be in. Simples.
I'm not disagreeing with any of you in terms of the realism. This film is spot on in terms of realism. But I don't need to watch a film seeing that play out. That's my issue. There was no message here that I didn't know when I was 13. So what was the point?
It's not about what you know. Sometimes there's a film about what other people do.
Alright, look at it like this. Giles said he watched it at 16. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And he watched that end scene and didn't think it was a rape. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So if a 15-year-old now watches the film, there's nothing in the film that says this is bad. It's only now that you're older, Giles, that you see it. So if you're watching it as a youth, you didn't even take away that message. So what was the point of the film? Because it doesn't even say it's bad.
This is when you, as the adult in somebody's younger life.
No, but there's plenty of films you watch as a youth that you don't watch with your parents. That's my point. There's many films I watched at 15, 16 that my mum and dad didn't know I'd watched. So are they going to have that? Are they going to sit down and watch that film with them? If they do, that's a different matter. If you've watched that by yourself, you still don't see anything wrong with it. So what are you trying? To me, you haven't said that this is bad. You've just showed it.
Yeah, but I'm assuming this is a 15. I think it's 18. I'm assuming this film's a 15.
I think it was. Let me check.
I think I get what you're, Carl. I get what you're saying. However, I think it's almost like you could use this film as like a stimulus, as like a talking point. Do you understand what I'm saying? To see what the kids take away. So even you're absolutely right, because like different. I said, right. So any kind of parent who is because you can watch anything, you can watch anything and use it and turn it round to fit whatever your narrative is going to be.
Yeah.
So I think in that case, you're right. There isn't any immediate takeaway from, say, like that final scene just by watching it. But if you put it into context and you see, so you could watch that of maybe your own child, and you say, okay, what were your thoughts? What do you think about that?
That's the key, though. That's the key. This film would only be good if it's a parent sitting this child down and then having a conversation about it. Just watching it by yourself, you've actually learned nothing, because there's no consequence.
Well, I didn't. Well, I didn't.
That's what I'm saying. So this is quite dangerous to me. This is quite dangerous.
But then on the flip side, then it sounds like if you say you tell people what you think could be right or wrong and let them view it and see if they think it's right or wrong. You know, when the understanding is like, somebody hurt my friend, so I need to hurt them back to protect my friend. They're not doing anything wrong. They're just trying to protect their friend. But that's not a wrong action. It's the same principle. You just need to understand how it's applied to the conversation. So as in all the sexualness of this film, whether it's right or wrong, or whether they've done the correct behavior, it's still the same based on what I understand. And then I know that I have to look after someone I'm doing the right thing. Well, if she's, and then you have the conversation, she's not saying no, that means yes. As in, that's what when we was younger taught until we was told differently. Boom, you have that conversation. But you don't have that conversation without you saying, do you understand the difference in the first place? Do you know what the difference is? So education is key, but there's no way you should say this film shouldn't be viewed by every child from when they hit 12. Because from when they hit 12, they've hit back so much crap into the school.
Oh, listen, and
so much crap.
Exactly. Carl, all I'm saying to you is you are going to be surprised. As a parent, you be surprised. You can do absolutely, and we'll move on to favorite scenes. I don't know if you can have a favorite scene in the context of this.
You know the rules.
But after or whatever, most memorable scene. But you be surprised. You can do absolutely everything in your household to make sure everything's on point. Your children have all the best teachings, the best morals. Listen, the moment you blink and they see that you've blinked and you're not seeing what they're doing, trust me. And that's all I'm going to say on that.
No, I'm not this. As I said, this I'm not disagreeing with you on the realism of this film, because I know what I was doing at them ages.
There you go.
Careful, mate. Careful.
There you go, son.
That's not my issue with the film. My issue is with everything else. The realism is spot on, but I don't need this to be made into a film.
Because maybe it's too real.
Yeah, but
maybe the thing is,
no, because there was no takeaways, there was no consequences. You just showed me actions.
Okay,
but that's the problem.
But again, it creates a talking point.
It has created a talking point.
Us as men, I'm saying if I watch that by myself at 15,
Okay.
Anyway.
Okay, but okay.
Right. We're going. I'm going to speed us along a little bit because we are at the.
We could chew the fat about this all day.
And again,
that's why I picked this film, because I knew it was going
absolutely, because if and believe you me, we've looked at films that haven't warranted almost an hour worth of discussion.
Oh, the dead don't die.
Listen, don't even. Anyway, best or memorable scenes. I'll throw it out to you, Els, first.
I think it's a culmination of the final sequence. So we've got Jenny finally finding Telly after she's been looking for him from the start of the film, to then obviously see him having intercourse with the other girl, and it's that crushing moment of, in a way, she could have saved her life and she's failed, and then she just gives up.
Yeah,
and then it rolls into it's Casper in it, who's kind of been the weasel of the whole film and the sort of fronter,
absolutely,
to then end the film on him committing the most heinous, most weasel, disgusting act, one of the most disgusting acts that a human being can do. And then obviously the final shot of him waking up, and it's like, we know what's now potentially happening and he doesn't know. And then that's it. That, for me, that whole final sequence, that was the most memorable.
I'm going to piggyback and say, not the whole final sequence. It was the enjoyment that I knew that I now know he had AIDS because of his dickhead, rapey behavior. So I enjoyed that person. That's I like the film was, as a film, I hated and loved the film. But for a scene or a moment that said, "Oh, you see, consequences."
Yeah.
You don't need to be told them. You just have to see him. And if you can't see him, you're not open-minded and you can't see vision. It's okay. You shall learn another way. Oh, shit. You have to take tablets for the rest of your life. Oh, what happened there? Was that your own fault? Did somebody force you? Or did you get excited? Oh, you was a motherfucker. Oh, now you fucked up. There you go.
That's it. Just desserts.
So,
I'll go with that one. This film, I swear to you, was literally bottom of the barrel. If I show you my notes, the amount of times I've put disgusting, uncomfortable, weird.
No, and the thing is, I totally agree with him.
Why did he keep saying nigger as well?
Yeah,
I don't understand. That's what I'm saying. Like, to me, there was no black. Anyway,
but again,
I didn't like any scene in this.
But
film.
even to mildly address that, like, you're right. Why did he keep on using the word nigger? Why? Because
in those times it wasn't a problem.
Exactly, and
for white people to use the word nigger.
Dude, that was it. That was this So let me. I'll do that in my sum up. So my I wouldn't even say I had a favorite scene because, like, Carl,
memorable is better.
Yeah,
better way of saying it.
It was. Okay, so I do have a favorite scene. I do have two favorite scenes actually. My favorite scene is when they are on the subway, and you got that guy playing the accordion.
Of course, I should have known.
Hold on.
Charles, tell him the story.
I should have known.
Tell him a story. No, but do you know what? I meant to bring this up. You just reminded me. Tell him a story. Right. Go on, bro. Go on.
Hang on. So you got the guy playing the accordion, and you got the other guy. The little kid who's doing the dance. Now the music's playing and the kid's dancing, but they don't match up. The kid's just doing this like some kind of go back and if you can, Carl, just to rewatch that scene. Yeah, hold on a sec. The music and the dancing do not match up, and then you've got these two idiots, Telly and Casper, standing there in awe, going, "Yo, he's really good." And I'm like, what the hell? Who's good? What's good? What's good about it? He's just doing this mad Irish jig hopping thing from one foot to the other. Then the next, my best scene is when they're actually on on the subway.
I knew you were gonna say this.
And the door opens, and you get the little guy coming on who has no legs. Now it's quite obvious he has no legs because he's on a skateboard. Where his leg should be, there's like an aluminium dish where his leg should be, and he's. I mean, that scene in itself, for me, it conjures up so many questions. Like, who helped him up from the track onto into the carriage? Like, because he literally just opens the door. Like, where did he come from? I don't understand. But anyway, that's another podcast. But it's when he just starts shaking the thing and then stating the obvious. I have no legs. Yeah, buddy, we can see you have no legs. You've got a skateboard there. We can see that. So that for me is classic. Now, the reason why it's even more classic for me is because I have on numerous occasions been on the New York subway system, and there are characters like the dancer, like the accordion player, and like Mr. I Have No Legs in real life. Why just last summer when we were in New York, Elliot? We're sitting on the subway, minding our own business. The door opens, this character comes in, and he just starts rapping. He just starts rapping. He just starts rapping, but he's begging. But he's begging in a rap version. Like, it was hilarious. So for me, that was my two favourite scenes.
Right, so wrap up. I'll take this one first, and this is going to really piss Carl off. But I thought this film was brilliant. As I say from the start of my review, the sort of impact that this had, watching it then, rewatching it now, obviously, like as I said to you the other day, Giles, when you watch things at different times in your life, you're going to get a different feeling. And as we've all kind of alluded to the fact, as we're now older, we've lived a lot further along than we did when we first saw the film, or if we didn't see the film, we're older now anyway. But thinking about how life is now, looking at the sort of subjects that were tapped into in the film, I thought it was perfect. I think there should be more films like this that make things very blunt, very strong, very graphic, stating the obvious, scare factor. I thought it was a very a scary film, but for all the reasons of, well, this could be real, and this is real. This is probably a lot of people's life at the time now, going through these kind of situations. So I thought it was great. Outside of the messages of the film, the way it was filmed, as I say, I love the sort of home video feel, the third person looking through that sort of window at someone else's day in the life. The script as well was very just very normal. Didn't feel like someone had actually written a script. I actually felt like these people were just having day-to-day conversations. And the kind of feeling you got at different moments in the film as well, like Carl said, when they was in the swimming pool, when they was in, I don't know if it was Central Park, but when that park scene as well, just very normal. There's a very normal feel to this, and then obviously juxtaposed with the strong, visceral, impactful scenes. For me, it was the perfect blend. I was talking about this film 25 years later on, watching it as well now, feeling that it's just more relevant than it's ever been. I'd say this is near a classic, and I'd give this 4 stars.
4 stars from Elliot. Kyle.
Yeah, it's 1 star. As I said, I thought it was disgusting. No reason for this film to be made. I don't really have much else to say.
Wow. Have we ever heard?
The
shortest review from Kyle, boy. Your rating.
Ain't no more.
Amari.
Well, I was gonna piss off Kyle, and I say piss off Kyle. Well,
you can't piss me off because I was shocked that you lot enjoyed it anyway. So I was already thinking.
But to be fair, I don't think this film was as good as Midsummer, but it's in the same league.
I watched Midsummer 10 times over this.
So you know how good it is. It's just you hate it because you don't understand it. It's okay. I will teach you. Don't worry. I'll do a cinema. I will get the PowerPoints and I will get the flashcards and I'll tell you to write your thoughts. Trust me, I got you. Anyway, you see, kids. My kid will watch kids when they hit 11 years old because this world is fucked and they need to know. And on that point alone, the film gets 4 stars because it teaches them every fucking year they have to watch this film. You know why? Because they need to understand whether I know or not as their parent, they need to know as a child everything's out to get them, and they don't even know they're trying to get them because the people trying to get them don't even know they're trying to get them. This shit is chestnut checkers, motherfucker. Please note. Now, based on all of that and getting all that attitude out of the way,
Right, I'm gonna give this film. I'm gonna give it 3 stars. Why are you
I
laughing?
love that out so hard.
I'm gonna
No,
give it
I thought
3
he was
stars.
going to give it 4, so it's not too bad.
No. And again, all I can go on by is my experiences of watching it back then and watching it now. Obviously, I had the same disgust and kind of just like, oh my gosh, like shock at the film still retains such shock value for me 25 years later. But again, that's only me watching it as an adult and having had children. However, like I've said, it doesn't take away from the fact that it is, for me, it is a very important film for children and parents to watch. I think we live in an age where parents, there's a disconnect between certain generations, especially between parents and children. And some parents kind of take it for granted that because they bring their children up a certain way and because they do this and because they do that, then they don't need to, that my child would never do this. My child, no, you need to understand that you need to kind of be on the same level with them. So to be kind of in their heads about what they're doing and get rid of these misconceptions. And if this is a tool that you can use to get those messages across, then use it. But again, I can't get away from the shock value of it because I couldn't believe, I was watching it, just my mouth was like open, like raw. This is probably one of my favorite ever films, but it's a hard watch to watch as a 41-year-old man at the time when I watched it. But again, it still doesn't take away, like I said, I don't think you could make this film now, even in terms of the fact of the demographics or the demographic in New York. You wouldn't get group of kids that hung around like that now. Because Els, correct me if I'm wrong, we pretty much went all over New York last summer. We didn't see groups of skateboard kids hanging around. I mean, we went from one end of Central Park to the other. I mean, the reality is kids' attitudes have changed anyway. So they're not even outside. They're not even outside. They're not even outside. So those sort of attacks where you had like, almost 100 kids, whatever the number, it seemed like 100 kids, but just rows of kids just chilling outside. That shit doesn't even happen anymore because we're now in this digital age where everyone doesn't need to do that. We can hang out online. Shit, we're doing a podcast and right, we're all over London.
We could be in 4 different countries right now.
Absolutely. So I think, and it wasn't that long after that, I think the shift towards where we are now began to happen. So in terms of, when this film was made and why it was made, I do think it's important. However, I keep on coming back down to the shock. And not only some things happen on film or don't happen on film, like they're implied and they're shocking, but to actually have to sit through the uncomfortableness of it, yeah, it's that's why it gets 3 stars. Before rewatching it, it would have got a 4, but after rewatching it, it's a 3 stars for me. So that gives Kids a TMRG star rating of 3 stars.
Those movie review guys.
Subscribe to the podcast and stream full episodes on all major platforms.